I'm back, and we're getting to some more fun things as far as this abstract model goes. So we left off learning how to create shapes and learning how to add gradients. I'm going to open up my document, and there it is. So the very first thing I want to do, we're going to use some brushes now. So we've added lots of color with our gradients. I'm going to go to my layers panel, and the little plus sign there is going to help me add a layer. And I'm going to label this brush, and I may add to it once I decide which brush I want to use. So now that that's clicked, over here in my tools menu, you can see that my brush is right there, and it says brush tool. So once I click on that, this options bar opens up. And this right here, this little file, holds all of my brushes. This tells me what size the brushes are. So if it's a really large brush, it might be 252 pixels. It was set at about 28. But I'm not sure which brush I'm using yet, so I want to make that decision. But I'm going to click on the brush menu because there's something really exciting about this whole panel here. What's kind of cool about this panel, you've got one that says brush settings and one that says brushes. So if I go to the brushes, I can see what brushes I have at my disposal, okay? And some are just very basic. This is just a basic round brush. This is a very much softer brush, but these brushes can be altered. So let's just say I were to choose the soft round pressure brush, and then I were to go over to settings, and there it is. It's called number 30. I could make all kinds of changes to it. I could make it much thicker than it is. I could make it much harder than it is. I could space it so that instead of it being a single line, it now becomes almost a dotted line. And that could be an interesting thing. And if I wanted to say try this, you can see how large it is. When I put my cursor on the paper, you can see exactly how large it is right now. I have it set at 193. That might be a little too big. So if I look at it now, that doesn't seem so bad. Before I start, I want to select a color. So right now, if you look at your colors, the one in the front, the blue, that is the color that is selected. So if I start to do this, the color blue will appear. If I'm not crazy about blue, I'll come over to the color over here and I will pick a different color. Maybe I'll pick an aqua, or I'll pick something that I have in my design. I'm very much into making sure my colors go together. So maybe I'll go with this color, and I'll just create some kind of little dotted line. Maybe a little dotted line there. Okay, just two. And since they look like dotted lines, I think I will change the name to aqua dotted line. And yes, I used a paintbrush to do that, but these paintbrushes can do just about anything. So I'm going to be real selective about, now that I'm done with that, let me make sure I get out of it. And I'm going to add another layer, because I don't want these things to be connected. I want them to be separated. I may want to make changes to just a single layer, and if I'm trying to do it all on one layer, then whatever changes I make, it's going to happen to everything on that layer. So I'm going to make a new layer for everything I do. So my next brush, I'm going to say it's going to be 174. I'm looking at 174 right now. That's this one right here. And I can already see that that's something that I think I'm going to like. And again, it can be very big, and you can see the size of it when I put it on the screen there. The spacing, maybe I want it to be broken up like a dry brush effect. So that could be very interesting. 376 might be a little big. I might play with that a little bit. And I want this to be a different color. I don't want it to be the same color. So before I begin, I'm going to select my color, and I'm okay with that. Now there's one other thing, there's lots of other things I can do, but one other thing I could do is adjust the opacity. Maybe I don't want it to be really dark and really solid. Maybe I just want it to have an opacity to it. So if I kind of do that, you can see that it's much lighter than it would have appeared if I had done it solid. I might do another one here and maybe something there. I like to balance things, so I've got a couple, not too many, maybe one there. All right, so I've added this brush. That was brush 174. I'm going to hit the plus sign and see what other brushes I have. One thing I know I love to do is I love to spatter. And I don't know about you guys, but spatter paint is just awesome to me. So there's different types of spatter, and I'm just sort of looking at them all to see which one is going to kind of satisfy what I want to accomplish here. I feel like this one has the most potential. The sizing could certainly be bigger. You can actually look at the spatter. If you see those circles, I've moved them onto the screen. If you look at these circles, that shows you what the spatter is going to look like. So what color do I want to do? I've got a variety of colors in here. I think I'll go with maybe an orange, because orange is part of my color scheme. And when I left click, you can see that now I've got this spatter effect happening, and I don't necessarily need it everywhere, and I can just click it in random places, and now I've got this orange spatter. Do I want to use any other brushes? Let's just check out what any other ones that we have. Wet edges, no. I'll stick with that. I'm probably going to add more spatter at the end of this project, and that'll be almost like a final touch. So I will be doing a little more with that, but for now, I'm okay with it being like this. So now I'm going to move on to my pencil tool. And my pencil tool has a lot of options as well. So let's get to the pencil. And so that's kind of an interesting effect. I don't want that color. I'll try the green. And you can see I can write with the pencil, although I'm not crazy about that color. I don't think it's working, so I'm going to toss it away and try again. I'll label this pencil. But the more I think about it, I'm not real keen on that one. So let's see what other options I can do with my pencil. This is looking, I always love spatter, but again, I said I don't want to do that lime green. I could possibly do kind of a reddish, so maybe I'll do some spatter there. I lost my orange, didn't I? I guess I accidentally got rid of that. Okay, so there we go. But again, let's get back to the pencil. My typical pencil should be, where is it? It would certainly not be 19 point. And I can just make some little wigglies or something. And the thing is, you can always use your eraser tool too. So if you ever feel like there's something you just want to erase out, if you're really going for something abstract, you could actually take your eraser and let's say I went to my eraser right now and I used that eraser and I just wanted to say break this up a little bit, leave pieces. I could do something like that. I could, you know, erase something there and just break things. I can do this with my shapes. I can do this really with anything. But this is just pretty random right now, and I don't think I want to do anything else to this right now because I'm not sure yet how it's all going to look once I get my model in here. So rather than it get too busy, I'm going to get my model onto the page. So the next thing I'm going to do is open the picture that I decided I would do for this particular design. And I did him once, but I didn't really complete it. So I want to do him again because I think he would make a great subject. And so I don't want the background. I only want him. So I'm going to use select subject, and you can see it just grabbed him. Didn't even have to blink. So I will drag him over and pull him up. Let's try it again. Okay. And let's try this one more time. I may not be able to use the select subject tool because this photo is a PNG and not a JPEG, and it's not allowing me to get him in that way. So I'm going to see if it allows me to pick him up in using the quick selection tool. So I'm just going to keep clicking, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed because otherwise I will be looking for a new model. And there we go. All right, fingers crossed. No issues. Very good. Okay. For some reason, I don't know, I've noticed that before, but select subject doesn't always want to work when we have certain types of pictures. Okay, so his head got a little cropped, or it didn't get cropped because of me, but the picture itself was already sort of cropped. So since the picture itself was already cropped, I want him to take up this picture the same way he did in the original picture. All right, and the way this layering came in, I'm going to title this real quick, Man. It came in below one of the shapes, so I want him to be in front of all the shapes. The other thing I want to do is I want to change the opacity on him. I want him 80%, I find is pretty good. 70 can be okay, and you can play with the opacity depending on what you want. So right now you see him, you see our background. There's not a whole lot of changes going on yet, but I want to make some really drastic changes to this. So we have all of our adjustment tools up here. I'm going to start with those. So you know you can always adjust the brightness. Now this is going to adjust everything, not just him, okay, because I didn't select new adjustment layer. This is going to make changes to the whole thing. So maybe I do want the brightness up. So I'm going to leave the brightness. What do I think about contrast? I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit too. Now some of these tools have very interesting abilities. Okay, so this is our curves tool. If I click on the curves tool, it's going to lighten it. And yet if I click somewhere else on the curves tool, it's going to darken it. And then I could click somewhere else on the curves tool. And so I can constantly be making these changes to this picture based on what I choose to do with the curves. Okay, and you can see how he's changing. Okay, now do I like these changes? That's kind of for me to decide on my own. And this is where these projects get to be so much fun, because it's up to you to make those decisions. You know, does something like that appeal to you? These are meant to be abstract, so you get to decide. And if you in the end decide that you don't like it at all, then it goes right in the trash can. Okay, so let's just for now not make those changes with the curves. Let me throw that away again because it didn't work, because I don't want to make any sudden changes yet. I can always go back. Hue saturation. We know for a fact that if we leave it on master and we just begin to change the hue saturation, it's going to change everything. Okay, and he's going to change radically depending on what direction I go with this. This whole thing is changing. The colors for everything are changing. Okay, but maybe that's not what my goal is. Maybe my goal is only to change certain colors. Maybe I want to change the magentas in this particular piece. And so I can change the magentas into aquas or into other, just any other colors. So again, there's a lot of experimentation that goes along with some of the things that we do. Okay, so the hardest part you're going to find in doing all of this is making an ultimate decision. And okay, I'm going to stick there. I like the way those colors changed. All right, what else do I want to do? Color balance. Color balance can change the midtones of things. Okay, and right now I have it set on midtones, so I can change the reds, my midtone reds, and I kind of like those reds. I can change, I'm right now I'm going back and forth between the greens and the magentas. There's something about the reds and the violets that are appealing to me. Okay, the whole thing can go in a purple direction. I definitely don't like it going yellow, so I might stop there. We have other tools that we can certainly play with. I don't necessarily think this is posterizing, and if you wanted to posterize you can, but I will be teaching you how to use filters next, so you might want to save. That's kind of cool. You might want to save posterizing for when you get to filters. So I'm going to stop here, but I'm not done. Now I want to go to my blend modes, because what it's going to do is it's going to take all of those shapes that are now on top of each other, and it's going to blend all of these layers together in unique ways. I can darken, I can multiply, and we've used these before, and you've seen how they've affected your work before. Okay, and each time you scroll over a different area, a different option, you get a completely different look. Like, that's pretty cool. Can you imagine if you were doing a poster? That would be a very, very cool poster to have. Hard mix. For whatever reason, difference tends to always look black. Whoops, where did I go with that? I'm trying to get down to the bottom here. Hue, saturation, color, luminosity. All right, so Time to make a decision. Hard light is good. Soft light is good. Overlay is good. I like these, don't get me wrong, but I don't want any drastic changes right now, because you'll see in a minute why I don't want any drastic changes. Darken, I think, could work out pretty well. And actually it looks a lot like normal, so I'm going to go lighter color. I'm going to go with the lighter color. One more time, I'm going to check out the curves, because I didn't make any choices before because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to think. Okay, and again, you can see these changes happening. Okay, and I think I'll go with this. All right, now as far as his transparency goes, let me see if I'm good with his transparency or if I want him to be even a little lighter. I do want to see his face. I don't want his face to be drowned out completely. Okay, so what I would do at this point is I would save this. So I'm going to save as. I'm going to call it version 8 because I want to keep the different layers that I've made. Okay, now here's the last thing I'm going to do. All right, so here he is. Okay, and I've got him labeled now as version 8. I'm going to go to layer. I'm going to go to merge visible. Okay, so now all those layers have now just become one single layer, and that says background. And now I will go up to my filter. I will go to my filter gallery. Okay, and I will reduce him in size a bit. Okay, yeah, we'll go back to that. And again, lots of changes can take place here. That would make a cool poster. Okay, dry brush, film grain, fresco. I always love fresco. I'm not sure why fresco stands out. Neon always comes out very strange, but please keep in mind the amount of glow can change depending on how you adjust the adjustments. So if I went bright, you can see how I could make this completely different. And I can change the glow color. So if I were to change the glow color, I'd have a completely different look to this. So you can see how these things can change completely. But the great part about using these is if I move away from it, it just ignores the one I just had. So this one has a very almost painterly look about it. That plastic wrap is the one it opened up to, and I'm not real crazy about this one. Now this, of course, is posterizing, and that's why I said before, you know, think about whether you want to posterize, because you can certainly posterize if you decide to use the filter gallery. And let's see, edge intensity. Actually, that could make a pretty cool poster. I kind of like the way it's making changes to him now. Like things are becoming a little more distinct. The edges are becoming more distinct. I kind of like that. That's pretty cool to me. Okay, because I like this one, I am going to save this really quick. So I'm going to hit save as. I'll save it as both a PSD, and I'll save it. Oops. come back, and I'll save it as a JPEG. Whoops, that's not the one. Okay, looks like I lost it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna save it as a JPEG. And all I have to do is go here and hit JPEG. So now I have it as both a Photoshop document and a JPEG, and I would be happy with this as my finished piece. But maybe I feel like I'm not sure this is the right one. So if that's the case, I can go back to my home page, go back to the original, go back to filter, go back to filter gallery. Oops, and this is the version that I did not, and that's an interesting thing to notice too. I have this layer selected, which means if I went to filter and I went to filter gallery, and let's say I like that version of him, and I hit OK, he would come back into the picture like that, but the rest of it would remain untouched. So now he's got this artistic look about him. So I kind of like this actually. So I might just keep this one as well. But like I said, you can play with this all day long and come up with 20 variations of how you would want this to be. I might decide that at this point I would merge all of these layers again. And let me just save this really quick because I do like it. And when I like something, I don't want to lose it in case it's something I want to go back to. So I've called this 10, but now I am going to go to layer. I am going to go to merge visible, and I am going to go back to the filter gallery. Okay, and now I've got the whole piece. And now I might try a different, like that's kind of cool too. You can see the different effects. Like now what it's doing is it's taking the effects that were already on him and taking the effects that were in the background and working with those. And I haven't even started to go through the brush strokes or ink outlines or dark strokes, or and that one's kind of nice, sprayed strokes. So I want you guys to sort of experiment and see. I like that one, that's glass, and see all the different ways. Now, and keep in mind, when you pick something, there's lots of ways to change it. Like this says base relief, but you can try chalk and charcoal. You can try mosaic tiles. That's sort of an interesting effect. So you've got these little tiles back there, and you can even adjust the size of the tiles. Maybe you want those tiles to be bigger, you know, and that's kind of a cool effect. I think I'll keep that one too. All right, so I am finished. My poster is finished. I've used creative shapes, creative gradients. I've just done fun things, and now I have this cool poster of a man, and now it's your turn, and I can't wait to see what you do. Either use your own picture, or you can use one of the models that I'll have in a file for you. Okay, good luck. Can't wait to see your work.